Hello, everybody. In this video, we are going to discuss inheritance and the super, that reference, and method overloading and method overriding. Okay, so I'm using this person class. So here is the project, the program. We have three classes. One is person, and then I have a janitor, I have a student. So if you think about the relationship, a student is a person, right? And a janitor is a person. A janitor has nothing to do with a student, but it is a person. A student has nothing to do with janitor, but it is a person. So student and janitor are siblings. They both have the parent person. So let's look at the person class. And once again, I'm not trying to do a comprehensive class design. This is just an example to illustrate all the mechanisms I just mentioned: inheritance, super, and method overloading and method overriding. Okay, so this class person, I only have two attributes: string name and int age. Both are private. So I have two constructors. This is the default constructor. So you don't accept anything, and you simply initialize the instance variables to their default values. Okay. This one is a constructor. So now this is called constructor overloading. We discussed overloading in chapter 7. So this is called overloading. That means two methods have the same name, right? Person, they are constructors, but different signatures. And this one does not have a parameter list. This one does. So that's called the signature. The parameter list is the signature. It uniquely identifies a method. So this is the overloaded version of the constructor. It accepts name and age and initialize name to the instance variable and initialize age, assign age, this parameter value, to the instance variable age. Okay, and get name, get age, set age. These are the accessors and mutators, and you should understand that already. And here is the toString method. And once again, the toString method's function is to return a string composed of the instance variables, formatted if you like, but you are not required to. Okay, so I formatted a little bit, just labeled the instance variable name, age, and I let age go to the next line. So this is the person class. Now let's look at the student class. Okay, so student inherits person, we say extends person. And for student, because it inherits person, implicitly it inherits name and age already from person, right? Name and age. So it only has one extra a private instance variables, which is major for a student. You have GPA, you have banner ID, all those attributes. I don't care right now, right? We are just looking at this for the purpose of inheritance. So just one instance variable, major. And also another thing you need to remember is when you decide on the instance variables, they should be relevant to what you want to do. They should always be relevant to your purpose of the project. You don't want to include all instance variables, all attributes, just the relevant ones. Okay, so let's look at this constructor. Okay, student. This constructor accepts three parameters because a student is a person. So it has a name, it has an age, but besides a person, being a person, a student is also a student. It has its own right. So the attribute for student is major, and that's why this constructor accepts all three. When you do a constructor of a child class, the first line, okay, the first line is always the super. So what it does is it constructs the parent part, okay? So when you call super, what happens? The system goes to person and calls this constructor, okay? And person accepts name and age, and your student call that method, that constructor, and pass name and age to it. So this super is calling the constructor of person. And this super call should always be the very first line, the very first statement in the child class's constructor. And then this major, so you construct the parent part of this object, and then you add to it, right? You add to the parent part, which is the major, that's specific to the child. So you add that to it. And this one is the overloaded constructor. It doesn't accept anything, so we call super without anything. When you do this, it goes to person, and it executes this constructor. So name will be unknown, age will be 0. And you also add to it. That's your own specific attribute. You need to add that to that object. So we initialize it to unknown. Okay. And because student extends person, you do not have to redefine these methods because it inherits them. So in student, the only accessor and mutator are these two for major. Okay, so that's the student class. And here is the janitor class. It's very similar. It has one instance variable besides name and age. That's hourly wage. And we create this constructor. We empty parameter constructor. We call super, that goes to person, that will do this, okay? And then we add hourly wage to it because that's the attribute. And then we do this constructor, it's the same as student. You call super first, name and age, that goes to person. It goes to this constructor. Okay, I'm repeating what the student is doing here. And then you add to it. And because janitor extends person, it inherits the get name, get age, set name, set age. So you only need to add these two accessors and mutators, okay, for hourly wage. So that is the three classes. Now let's look at the driver. I called it many people, okay. So I created a student 1, right? Okay. A student, if you look at it, the constructor needs 3 parameters. So you need to give it 3 parameters. String, int, string, okay? And this is string, int, string, right? So, and then we create a person. A person needs 2 parameters, string and int. So here we have string and int. And janitor, it needs string, int, and double. And so if you look at janitor, string, int, and double. Okay, so that's creating those 3 objects. And then I'm calling this empty, excuse me, empty constructor. S2 is new student. When that is called, it will execute this. So this constructor will be called, okay, and we already explained that. So now let's see, we print them out and let's see what happens. Okay, so student name, call, age 23, 2 and 3, and person and janitor. So if you look at this, for student 1, major is not here. For student 2, major is not here, right? For janitor, hourly wage is not here. Why is that? It is because in student, we do not have a toString method. I commented it out. We will talk about that. We do not have a toString method. In janitor, we do not have a toString method. And in person, we do. So because student doesn't have it, janitor doesn't have it, but they both inherit person, so this toString method is used when you print it out, when you call, when you place this object in an output statement, the toString method of person is used because of inheritance and because student did not have that method. Okay, so and you can see it's not complete. It doesn't apply that method. It's not enough for student. So what do? It's not enough. We override it. That's called method overriding. So what is overriding? Overriding means you have the same name and exactly the same signature in the child class and the parent class. So overriding is the child class provides a different version that's applicable to it of the same method in the parent class. So overriding occurs in the child class versus overloading occurs in the same class. Okay, once again, overloading occurs in the same class. So this is method overloading. Same method name, different signatures. Overriding means the child class provides a version of the same method from the parent class. So it provides its own version, okay? It's in the child class. So you have two versions. One is in the parent, one is in the child. And the child is to redefine the same method. So what I'm going to do is, okay, let me see. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncomment this. Okay, so if you look at the student toString method, result is equal to, okay, this is the first thing I'm using, super.toString. When you say super, you are referencing the parent class, right? So when we say super, we reference the person class. This is saying call the toString method of the person class. So it's calling this method. Okay, that's the person class method. So what does it do? It will give you back name and age. So result now will have name and age of this student, and then you need to add major to it, right? And then you return the result. So you use super.toString to call persons toString, okay? So here, we redefine this toString method. This is called method overriding. Okay, let's go to janitor. For janitor, I'm going to unblock it, go to source, and remove block comment. Okay, if you look at this, oh, this is here. Okay. Once you commented it, its format is changed. So we override this. This one, I'm making it simpler. Okay, this is the string you are returning. So what do you return? You call the persons toString method to get the name and age, and then you add the hourly wage to it and return. So now let's run. And you can see for student 1, you do have the major. For student 2, you have for person. When you call the toString method, if it's a person object, it will go to person to call, right? To use that toString. And here, the janitor's toString. So let's go back. Okay. When we do this, the student toString method is called because S1 is a student object. Okay. S2, when you do this, the student object toString is called because S2 is a student object. And P1, the toString method of person will be called because P1 is a person object. And J1, the janitor's toString, will be called because J1 is a janitor object. Okay, that's why. So now I'm going to unlock these so that we can run. Okay, so now I'm getting the janitor's name and I'm setting P1 using that name. So change P1's name to the janitor's name, right? So here, if you look at it, J1 is a janitor reference variable. It does not have the getName method in the class. It does not have that method in the class. That method is in the person class, getName, right? So here, inheritance is at work, right? It's using, so J1, when you do this, it will first go to the janitor class to look for the getName method, and it's not there. Then it goes to the parent. It's like if you owe someone some money, you don't have it, what do? They go to your parent. So unfortunately, but here, fortunately, it goes to the parent. And this way, you are really saving time and code. So that's why we say inheritance facilitates software reuse. You see, getName is being reused here. For janitor class, you do not need to redefine that method, right? So you just use whatever your parent has. And this P1 set name person has that method, so it's setting the name. And this one is the same. Get age is person's get age, but we are using S1, which is a student object, but it's using the parent's get age, and set age, the parent's set age. Set name, set age. Okay, now let's print it out. And everything should be changed, right? Okay, this is the previous 4, and now student 1's name is still Carl, age is 23. We didn't change student 1, did we? Let's see. We changed J1, that's why. Okay, so if you look at janitor, name is Bill, right? Is Bill. Oh, this didn't change. So what did we change? We changed person. Okay, we changed person here, right? We changed person's name. We changed janitor's age and so on. So you have time, you can pause and look at this. And so this is all correct. Okay. Person's name is Bill now, right? It's changed to janitor's name, and janitor's age is changed to student 1's age. So that's what we did here. Okay, and let's unblock this. And here, S2 set major to English. We are just testing the set major method that is specific to student, right? Student 2, its major was unknown, and now it's English. So that method is provided in the student class, and we test it, and it works fine. So now let's look at this one, P1.getMajor. See, first of all, let me ask you, think, will it compile? It will not. Why? Because person does not have the getMajor method. Person is the parent class. It doesn't have getMajor, so it will not compile. So a child class can use methods from the parent class. The parent cannot use method from the child class unless you do something, which we will discuss in chapter 10. Okay, so this one will not compile. I think that's it. We discussed a super, I did that, right? Super, and we discussed the method overriding versus method overloading, inheritance code reuse. Yeah, I think I discussed everything. Okay, that's it. I'm going to stop.